Hey everybody, welcome to the Waldock Way. I'm Jessica, and today's video is going to be our homeschool question and answer part 2. So in case you are just joining us, part 1 aired last week and you can find it up here. And today we are going to continue answering some of those questions. Now I'm going to start with the questions that I know I have other videos to link to, and I'm going to go ahead and link to those and tell you guys where you can get the majority of that information. And then I will finish with the questions that are going to take like longer for me to answer. So one of the first questions was, do I have favorite games? That is actually harder than if you asked me if I had a favorite child, because I only have one child, so I can totally choose a favorite child. But telling you guys my favorite or Emily's favorite or my husband's favorite game is super difficult. I will say that Yahtzee is probably the most played game in our house, and there is a ton of reasons behind that. It's one of my husband's favorites. It has super duper sentimental value for me. It is really, really great at working on math facts without like being a math game. So Yahtzee is probably the most played game in our house. I would say if I had to pick like my #1 favorite, that would be it. But again, there's tons of sentimental, it's just, there's a lot more tied to it than just like it's an awesome game. Although I do think it's an awesome game. That being said, every season, at the end of the season, I share my homeschool favorites from that season. So like in a few months, I'll be sharing with you guys my winter favorites from our homeschool winter. And that normally always includes a handful of games that have been the most played games over that season and a handful of books. So I will link those up here for you guys so that you can check out all of our past favorites, and you'll be able to see some of the games that have been our favorites over the past homeschool year. Okay, I also got a question about planning and planning from behind. So I do plan from behind per se. What I do is I have my planner that I create, and that's kind of like a checkbox, and I write out like math 4 times or language arts 4 times, like the things I want to hit. I don't say like math lesson 3, like I just say math, 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 and then I check those things off when we hit those things, whatever they may be. So maybe we play a game. That totally counts for math in my opinion, if it's a math game. But how I plan from behind is I use OneNote, and that is something that has the ability to be used as an app on my phone or on the computer. And each week I keep track and just write like a little paragraph about that week. So this week I would say something about, you know, Emily's become obsessed with dinosaurs. She's watched tons of episodes of Dino Dana, and these are some of the dino things that we've done because she's been in love with it so much. We are still enjoying a book and a game a day challenge. And then I would list like the books we've read, the games we've played, the shows we've watched, and then I put a few pictures under that. You can see more about how I plan from behind in my portfolio review video, which I will leave up here. I actually do a screencast and show you through my OneNote, and then what I actually do is take that OneNote and it becomes my portfolio. So I plan from behind, and then I end up scanning in some of our samples, and that is what I send to my portfolio evaluator. So it's planning from behind so that I'm only ever actually showing what we did and not what I had planned to do. And then I just scan in some samples and it becomes a portfolio. So it's kind of like it serves 2 things for me. It's great though. I was also asked about how I juggle it all. And I have a video that talks about how I do it all. So again, I'm gonna link that up here. Make sure you watch it. It's probably like my favorite video I've ever done. I will give you a hint. The answer to how I do it all is I don't. And that is what I tell you in that video. And I will repeat in case you don't go watch it. My biggest thing about being a homeschool mom and a work at home mom and a wife and, you know, a housekeeper, and especially, you know, just all of those things, a college student, is that somebody told me, I think when I had Emily and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do it all? They told me that basically the key to life is to never drop the same ball 2 days in a row. You're juggling. So as a mom and a homeschool mom and a housewife and just all of these things that you're doing, you're juggling. You constantly, every hat that you wear is something you're juggling. And the key to being productive in life is to never drop the same ball 2 days in a row. So maybe today my house was a disaster, but we had a really great homeschool day. I got a ton of work done. You know, my college is caught up, and maybe I actually remembered to put my hair, do my hair, put my makeup on, and greet my husband at the door with a kiss. So that makes me a great wife too, right? But the house is a mess. That's okay. But tomorrow, I can't drop that ball again. So I have to make sure that I pick the house up. Even if that means we don't get school done today. Or even if that means that when my husband gets home, I'm busy picking the house up and my hair is a hot mess and I have no makeup on and I'm still wearing my pajamas. What it means is you just, as long as you're doing that and you're constantly in a state of juggling and you're never dropping that same ball 2 days in a row, then guess what? You're making it, you're being productive, and you're being successful. And that is literally what I remind myself constantly. It's not how I do it all, because I don't do it all. I have an amazingly supportive husband who does so much to help me out. My daughter is amazing. Emily does a ton. She does chores. She helps me with work. I mean, she's absolutely wonderful. But, I mean, there's still some things that fall on me that only I can do. And I am very graceful with myself, or I try to be very graceful with myself. And I just try to remember that it is okay if I lay my head down tonight and the house is a mess, or I did no work, or homeschool didn't get done. Because normally, there's at least one thing I did really awesome. Even if that one thing meant that I did nothing all day, then that one thing I did really awesome was take care of me, because I did nothing, which was self-care, right? Like every day you've done something really, really well. I promise. Most of us have done something really, really well. So that is kind of like the little shortened version, but still make sure you watch that video. Okay. I also was asked, these are going to kind of go hand in hand, because I was asked, how do I narrow down resources? Like, how do I choose what resources we bring into our homeschool? And then I was also asked about homeschool budget. So they're kind of going to go hand in hand. I will go ahead and say that we do not have like a set number budget. We don't say, okay, $1,000 a year, or $1,500 a year, or $100 a month. There is no number. That's never been discussed. In our house, we've never had to discuss it. We don't do debt. I mean, we have debt, but we don't have credit cards. And we've, from the day that we met, other than like our car payments and our mortgage, you know, the things you have to have, we've always said, like, if we can't afford it, we can't buy it or do it. And so that is key number one, is that if we don't have the money, it doesn't happen. Point blank, period. There is no like borrowing to do it. There's no debt. We don't put it on a credit card. If I can't afford it, I don't care how good that game looks, or how good that book looks, or how awesome that would be in our homeschool. If we can't afford it, it's not happening. But that being said, there are some things that we do to try to extend what we do have, and add more into our homeschool. And those things are, first, shopping when things are on sale. So like, I scour Amazon for sales, like literally. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, and I always share them with you guys. So make sure you're following me on Facebook, because that's where I share the most of them. It's just easy to share there. But I have everything that would be like my dream wish list, and I just go through and look, and when prices drop, if it drops within a place that I'm comfortable of and we have the money, I will buy it. If it's not, you know, where I'm comfortable at, or we don't have it then, well, then I just keep an eye out on it for later. I also always use coupons. So obviously like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, those always have a coupon you can use. Never pay full price there. And then I utilize teachers discounts. So certain places will allow homeschoolers for teachers discounts. That's like Barnes & Noble, Michael's, Books A Million, Scholastics. You can have a teacher's account. There are some amusement parks that do. I think SeaWorld did. I don't know if they still do. I think they may have changed to, you have to have your teaching certificate. I mean, it still works if you're a homeschooler, but you have to have your teaching certificate. Disney, because we're annual pass holders, we get a discount. We ask literally every time we check out there, like, hey. So my husband is also ex-Air Force, retired Air Force. So he has a military discount, and a lot of times that can all stack. And so we're really good about asking, like, do you offer this? Because the worst thing they can say is no. And oh well, they said no. But if they say yes, then sometimes we've saved, you know, for the homeschool discount and the military discount stacked, which can be huge. We also do a ton of educational gifts for holidays, birthdays, like pretty much anything is gonna get a book and a game. And that's not just for Emily. Like for my birthday, I'll pick up, well, maybe not a book, but maybe a book for me and a game. Same thing for my husband, same thing for Emily. And we also keep wish lists for her that we share with family members to try to extend, you know, the things that are coming into our house that would be educational or that would work well with our homeschool or add to our learning or enrichment in some way. And we share that with grandparents and aunts and uncles. And so that way the things that are coming in are not just junk. The things that are coming in that are coming into our household and our homeschool are valuable and can be useful for learning. And that's going to lead us into how do I narrow down resources. There's a few things I personally keep in mind. I keep in mind longevity, and I don't just mean is it durable, which that does matter. Is it durable? But for me, it's more, does it have multiple levels? Because unlike a majority of people, I don't have kids behind Emily. So if it's, let's say, a place value game that only has like one level, once she's mastered that skill, there's nobody that's gonna play it. There's nothing I can do with it. That's why games like, for instance, for place value Dino Math Tracks, it comes with cards and it has 3 different levels. So things like that have a longevity, that have multiple levels, that can be stepped up or extended, things that are enjoyed by many ages, those are the things that I bring in. Like that is very important for me. The longer it lasts, the more I'm willing to pay on it. Another way I narrow down resources is based off of interest. So if you watched my veterinarian unit study video, you saw that I said I base my units and pretty much anything based off of Emily's interest. So if she's a little bit interested, I'm willing to spend a little bit of money. If she's a lot interested, like a lot, I'm willing to spend a little more money. Maybe not a lot of money, but a little more money. So if she just wakes up one morning and is like, oh man, I don't know, I'm kind of into art today. I might spend, you know, I might get her one thing. But with veterinarian, that was a unit, that was something we had revisited probably 3 or 4 different times. It's something she was super into. I mean, she literally watches Dr. Pol like it's the only show in the whole world. So that was something I was willing to invest a little bit more in. So interest is another one. If I know it's something that she's gonna love and she'd be super interested in, then that is something that I will also consider. Something else that I try really hard to consider is, can this be something that I can borrow? So if it's a book, you can see behind me here, I own a ton of Usborne books. That is because our library does not carry Usborne books. But if I had to choose, and I know I'm gonna get shot for this in the homeschool world, if I had to choose, like if I was doing a unit and I could only afford one thing, I'm gonna buy a game over a book. Because other than Usborne, which I own almost all of them, the library probably has it, or at least has a book I can use. So that means I can borrow that book, but I have nowhere I can borrow a game from. So I would probably purchase the game over a book. I know in the homeschool world that's like, what? But it's true, because that's something I take into consideration. What is the longevity of the item? What is Emily's interest? And is it something that I could get away with borrowing? If it has a super long longevity, Emily is very interested, there's no way for me to borrow it, and it's going to bring value to our homeschool and our learning. And by value, I mean it's gonna last a long time, she's very interested, I can't borrow it from anybody, and it is going to enrich our learning experience, then the answer is yes, I'm probably gonna purchase it, as long as we can afford it. If we can't afford it, I don't care how pretty it is or how many of those things it answers yes to, the answer is still no. So that is how I narrow down resources. I kind of have like a 4 or 5 step thing, and yes, that all happens simultaneously in my head. Okay, so another question that I got a lot of was around my curriculum. What inspires me to make it? What am I making next? Emily inspires me to make our curriculum. Hands down, watching her, seeing the things she's interested in is one of my biggest inspirations. That's actually how the Magic Treehouse curriculum, Passport to Adventure, was created. She was like 5. She was in love with Jack and Annie, and she walked by me one day with her cute little kindergarten self and said, Mom, wouldn't it be cool if we could do a whole year of Jack and Annie school? And I thought, yeah, I guess. And then my wheels started turning, and within a month over that summer, I had written a whole year of Jack and Annie School because she literally asked for it. The same thing happened with Waldock Wizards and Wands. She was super into Harry Potter, and she thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could go to Hogwarts for a year? I'm sure she actually meant like go to Hogwarts, but this was the best I could do. She is very, very into the big-headed books right now, which is what she calls the Who Was books. And so that's how the Who Was unit studies have begun. I will tell you that I don't like sit down and plan out what I'm going to be creating next. So I can't tell you like this is what's coming next. I have a list of ideas as things have popped up, as she's shown interest in things, or as things have appealed to me, of what I may do, like to, you know, if I find a lull, if I have downtime, which doesn't happen very often. I will say that because the holiday fun around the world was such a big hit, that is being revamped for next season. It will be redone by the time next holiday season comes out for you guys. So it's not available in the shop currently because I want to edit it and get it changed just a little bit. But because that was such a big hit, and because we also enjoyed it so much, I will say that in the very near future, there will be some sort of around the world something. That is about the best I can do for you guys. Emily is my inspiration for the most part, and right now what's on the horizon is more Who Was units and probably something around the world at some point. That's all I've got. Okay, another question that I was asked a lot, like a lot. This one actually surprised me how many times it was asked, was about do I worry about gaps in education because we mostly do unit studies? Do I worry there's things she's not gonna know? Am I worried about, you know, all of those types of questions? And I'm going to give you the short answer in this video. And then next week, I'm going to give you kind of a longer answer because this could be its own video and we're already at like 17 minutes. So the short answer would be, yes, I do worry, because I would be lying to you if I told you I didn't. I'm a mother, we all love our children, we all worry about everything. So yes, there is obviously a part of me that worries that there is something that I'm doing wrong, but I also worry that she's gonna burn her hand when she's cooking in the kitchen. I also worry that she's going to drown when she's swimming in the pool. Does that mean that I don't let her cook in the kitchen or I don't let her swim in the pool? No. So that just because I have some worry doesn't mean I'm gonna stop doing it, if that makes any sense. And because we are at 18 minutes now, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you guys goodbye. Please make sure you stay tuned because like I said, next week I will have the video for the unit study, gaps in education, am I worried kind of thing. And it will be a longer video where I go into more detail for you guys. And I really, really think that it's one you're gonna enjoy. That will be a Let's Chat, and that will be next week.